Good morning. This is Bill from the Roosters. I just heard one down there. Just heard one. Hopefully he stays down there. Anyway, good morning. This is Bill from Auto Europa Naples, and today on this sort of lovely, cool Florida Wednesday morning, I have one of the cars that I've just always absolutely loved, an absolute icon of a vehicle. This is a 1997 Mercedes-Benz S500. It is one of the renowned W140 chassis, which is, a bit controversial, as are many Mercedes models. This one was no different. This thing is big and bad and awesome. It took over 10 years to develop, a cost of more than $1 billion. People got fired over this car. It became so controversial and over budget and, over engineered. And it is the pinnacle of the old school engineers running the show at Mercedes, showing off, trying to create what they considered to be the ultimate incarnation of the automobile. And in many ways they did succeed, although it was met with, reviews that, people saying, for the love of God, you have to draw the line somewhere. And there is some truth to that. I mean, this thing is amazing. It's heavy. It weighs in at about 4,700 pounds, long, over 17 feet, wide, over 6 feet, and it goes down the road like an absolute freight train. This is the final incarnation of the 140, the last, sort of design revision. You see the big Euro headlamps up front, the recessed grille with the black inside, the 6-hole alloy wheels. And if you're going to own an S-Class, it may as well be triple black like this one. It really does have the impact that an S should have. Now, I'm going to say one thing about this car is it has absolutely no sense of humor at all. This thing is solemn and somber and serious, and if you tell a joke, it's just not going to be amused. If you're the head of a Czechoslovakian crime syndicate or the Prime Minister of France, then this is probably going to be your transport of choice, at least certainly back in the 90s. That were the people who drove these things. Plutocrats, people with $90,000 to spend on a car way back when. I mean, we're not talking about currently. We're talking about 1997 and earlier. These things were that much money. They were 25% more than the prior S-Class. It was designed by a guy named Olivier Boudet, under the tutelage of Bruno Sacco, Mercedes-Benz, long-term chief designer. And Bruno had envisioned something very different. He wanted something longer and lower and sleeker like a Jaguar. And then what happened is in the interior mock-up, when they're trying to come up with the dimensions, the chief designer, I can't remember his name, but he kept raising the adjustable roof to get the line where he wanted it. And the guy was 6'3". So this thing ended up being very tall. And as a result, so it didn't look like some kind of Pope-mobile, Bruno had to see it widened and lengthened to make the dimensions seem proper. Now, by 97, they had changed a few things on it. For one, the earlier versions had these little reverse sensors. So when you would put the car in reverse, a little chrome stick would come up here on the back fender. When people would ask me what they are, I told them they were tiger detectors. It was the first thing that popped into my head, and, what it truly did was let you know the dimensions of your car when you're backing up, which helps when you're backing up 17 feet and almost 5,000 pounds worth of metal. But I thought there was a certain romance to tiger detectors, and that would keep you safe from them if you were driving down the road and there were tigers around. They have the Bruno Sacco's body cladding on the bottom, but by 97 it had become the color of the rest of the car as opposed to the contrast, which I think looks better. And everything about this car is just Teutonic and impactful, and it's a design that's absolutely lasting. It still pleases today, and that's something that Mercedes-Benz is very good at. Their designs do not necessarily wear out. Now this one, again, in this revision, the last revision, they tucked some of the, God, that rooster's going nuts down there. They tucked some of the body cladding inward. They made the car look a little bit smaller, certainly more rounded. The original ones were more stodgy looking and square. By, softening a few creases here, they did manage to make the car look less like a land barge, but there really is no mistaking, the size and impact of this thing. I mean, you have 3 or 4 of these things in a row going down the road at high speed tight. You just know that somebody's on their way to, machine gun a place or, negotiate an oil treaty. Anyway, let's get into this. So as I was saying, it was one of the most over-engineered cars maybe ever. It may be the most over-engineered car of all time, short of some kind of Formula One thing. And back here at the trunk, I'll show you how. So push the button. You see that little chrome handle comes out. Now that thing serves 2 purposes. One of them is to, of course, give you a way to pull the trunk down that's nice and calm. Another thing is to avoid putting fingerprints on the top of the trunk because you're doing this. So when you put it back down, it sucks itself in, the fingerprints are gone, and the paint on your S-Class is unmolested. So, it's just that kind of stuff that's amazing. A huge trunk, you're going to fit anything you want back there, no problem. Still has this great little net if you want to, throw your dead squirrels in that, or you have a child who's misbehaving, you can try to stuff them in there and go for a ride. Also has a CD changer in this one with a little bag. This thing is a one-owner car. It was owned by actually, it was a woman, which is surprising for a triple black S-Class. She got it new. She loved it. She drove it all these years. She just sold it to us, from our repair shop. She came in, she did, another repair on it, God knows what. And she said, okay, it's time. I'm going to move on to something newer. But she loved this car and maintained it appropriately in very fantastic ways. Is a soft close trunk, which is quite neat, something Detroit has had for years, but Mercedes-Benz added another touch. They went ahead and put that mechanism on the doors, and it has soft closed doors as well, which is pretty neat, but also a little bit disappointing in the sense that one of the great joys of these big, German Q-ship S-Classes is that when you close the doors, the solid and resounding and echoing thud, is a masterpiece. So you're a little bit deprived of that with the soft closed doors. Okay, under the hood, we have a 4-cam, the dual overhead cam, 4-cam V8, 315 horsepower, very, very peppy, very, very torquey, more than enough to shuttle this car down the road at a high rate of speed. I think it's speed limited to somewhere around 140 miles an hour. Could, of course, go faster, but, that's where it's at. And, this thing with the V8 was $90,000, basically the same price as the 12-cylinder offerings from Jaguar and from BMW. And if you wanted to go into the 12 in the Mercedes, that giant, 6-liter 12 they had, you're talking about $140,000. And that's back in like 95, 96, 97. And again, that gets you back to that, what were they thinking? They were pushing the limits. How much would people spend? How much stuff would people want on their car? And the S that came after this was a response to that. It was lighter, cheaper, more attainable. Some people liked it better, but you just have to point out that the 140 was really the pinnacle. Incredible amounts of suspension work, multi-link in the back, hydropneumatic shocks, a very brand new subframe up front, that isolated the road noise and created safety. Really, really cool stuff. You can see this has very subtle, nice headlights, washers on the headlights with wipers. Even under the hood it looks sinister, and that's just pretty cool stuff. All right, let's get that back down. And of course the Mercedes star leading the way, one prong each pointed at land, sea, and air, where Mercedes is going to dominate. You can see it's got Michelin tires on there. Again, this was a pretty well-to-do woman who looked after it. It's got the recessed door handles, the flush glass. Oh man, what a neat piece. So, all right, let's have a look in the back. Look at the beautiful expanses of black leather. Absolutely lovely. You've got sort of a suede-y little package shelf here with headrests that come down electrically. You got your first aid kit in there. neat stuff. Beautiful, incredible materials they used in this car with the bunched leather, the burl wood. These are heated rear seats, which are quite nice. The contrast with the, you know, suede carpet, the soft materials. It's absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous, this car. Plenty of legroom back there. You know, they had two wheelbases, long and short. Most of the ones that came here were long, like this one. And anyway, what a comfortable, nice place to be. Also a soft close on that door, obviously. And they're all working on this car. Very interesting. Up front, this was a new seat design for Mercedes, incredibly comfortable. It's got that sort of firmly padded leather in the Teutonic style. They're not big into their soft Italian style stuff. You know, beautiful fit and finish. Side airbags, you know, incredibly adjustable seats where you can move forward, the cushion on the bottom if you've got longer legs. So, you know, if you're a jockey or Too Tall Jones, you're going to be able to fit in this car and feel like it was made for you. Let's hop in. I'm gonna find the keys first. I'm always digging in my pocket for them otherwise. You ever had that feeling like you're forgetting something? I've got that now. All right, get our seatbelt on so it doesn't beep at me eternally. You can see the light on the camera's gone. I got a new iPhone the other day and I'm thinking about switching back to that. We'll see how that goes. All right, so fire it up. That big 8-cylinder comes to life. Very, very nice stuff. You can see a very... Let me open this roof. We'll see if that turns the light off. Okay, nice. No, it didn't. Anyway, you can see a very classically laid out Mercedes-Benz instrument cluster. You've got your speedometer in the middle. You see this thing, 115 on the clock, just getting started. You've got your useless miles per gallon you know, vacuum operated indicator there. I mean, I don't even know why they put 30 or 40. I mean, that is just the most ludicrous gauge. It's almost as dumb as the top meter in the Mini. But it does, of course, harken back to earlier Benzes. You've got your fuel mileage, your water temp, your oil pressure, your tach. That's a big 6,000 red line on that V8. And of course, an analog clock and all these little indecipherable warning lights beneath that will pop on and scare the hell out of you. This car has BAS and ESP. BAS is a brake assist. That was another W140 innovation. In emergency maneuvers, it would, you know, help you apply the brakes to keep you safer. ESP, electronic stability program, or you know, ESP. I guess that's what Carrie used at the prom to set fire to all those people. Maybe you could bend spoons with this car. No, in fact, what it really is this traction control that will, you know, if the car feels like it's in a skid, it's going to brake maybe the right rear to keep you on the road. If you remember, there was this old Cops episode where there was a car chase with the W140 car, which was absolutely hilarious. You got to look it up on YouTube sometime. All these cops are chasing a stolen, you know, S500. They're after it, and they're trying to pit maneuver it, and their Crown Vics are just bouncing off the back, making absolutely no impact at all. And the announcer, oh, the big German sedan stays steady as it goes down the road. And it sure as hell did. I mean, it was just absolutely incredible. Okay, let me show you something neat. I'm going to try something that's really dangerous. Let me see if I can do this one-handed. Probably not. I'm going to put my elbow in the window. And put, now, did you see that? Okay, I don't know if you did. Maybe you heard it. Try this again. Okay, this is super. I haven't tested this. Window coming up, arm in it. Oh, it sensed my arm, stopped, and came back down again. That was another innovation on this Mercedes that was kind of neat. Also, you see this big, thick glass. Very often I get nitwits telling me these cars have bulletproof glass, which is absolutely ridiculous. They don't. What they do have is the first real use of double pane glass in a car, and what that does is insulate the hell out of it. So it keeps noise levels way down inside. It stops condensation. It keeps it cooler in hot days and hotter in cool days. And they, you know, Mercedes and other companies have cheapened this going down the road. There will never be an expensive set of double pane glass like the ones in this car. They don't come apart. They don't seam split. There's no yellowing and bluing at the tops like you see with the ones that are glued together differently. This is just fantastic, incredible glass, and you'll never see it again in another car the way it was done in this car. again, with the vintage style light control, part of Mercedes' design philosophy is that when you get in a Mercedes, you should be able to operate it, even if you came out of a 1968 Fintail. The light should be the same, the shifter the same, that sort of thing. Here's a power steering wheel control, nice stuff. This was one of the first cars to adopt folding mirrors, all very neat. They did do away with the power center view mirror, which was a good thing because everybody broke that. So we can pull the steering column button out, put it down a little bit, get it where I like it. Very nice. This also had rain sensing wipers, another first. There's your cruise control. But again, back to this car having no sense of humor, not even a style, a smile. Look how stodgy it all is. This, black leather steering wheel with a similar material on the airbag sinking into the dash where you don't really see it. This dark wood that could be used in a funeral home. Man, don't make any jokes around this thing. It's just going to shoot you. Over here, we've got all kinds of interesting places to put stuff. Some of these cars had a phone in here, which, was neat at the time, but useless now. So it's nice to have a little hidden compartment for your narcotics or switchblades. Also, this was cars of this era, they all had airbags where the glove boxes used to be. And this car, of course, was designed to have both. You also have your book set in there, which is quite nice. Down here, you've got a trunk release. This will lower the rear headrests. That's just lock and unlock. This is a hazard switch. You've got dual side climate control. This one's digital. The original ones had a really neat sort of analog looking system that I quite liked, but it was also ridiculous. This is much easier to use. In-dash Becker cassette with, of course, the CD changer in the trunk. Here's your electronic stability program. If you want to turn that off and try to light up the rear tires, great. Front heated seats. We got an ashtray there. I love the Mercedes gated shifter. For years, it's been a fantastic thing because what it does is prevent you from having a stupid button you have to press somewhere. So, it just goes to the correct gear every time. It stops in drive, it stops in reverse, and you know instantly what gear you're in without having to push a stupid button. Your window controls, very nice from the era. What do we have here? We've got... I don't think this thing had a glove box. Yeah, it had some sort of a phone in there probably at some time. And then this way opens up here. You got other stuff in there. Somewhere my detailer, of course, forgot to clean. You lift that up. You've got a little rollaway cart for a bigger pistol. Maybe a 357 could go in there. You're not going to have a little gun in this car, obviously, if you're driving. And, people wonder, why are you always talking about guns? Man, I live in Florida. Okay, don't forget that. I mean, you have to have these things down here. Anyway, what do we have up here? HomeLink garage door opener, self-dimming mirror, also has a self-dimming side view mirror. You've got all your light controls, switches everywhere, buttons everywhere. Big power sunroof that's glass, that's nice. Lovely material on the headliner. Nice big, sun visors. I mean, it's just such a plutocrat's car. The guys who sat in the back, they were really missing out. You got this giant expansive hood in front of you, not just forward, but sideways. And I'll tell you, here's what is the, great, now we've got fog popping up. Here is what is fantastic about this car, is despite its incredible bulk, and I mean, it is huge, but despite that, it manages to be incredibly nimble. Cornering, going down a mountain road, that sort of thing. It handles itself with incredible, agility. And in the parking lot, it has variable assist steering, so if you're parking this giant beast, the wheel is very easy to turn. The minute you get going down the road, it stiffens up a little bit in order to, give you better road feel. Another innovation in this car was the first car to use a CAN bus system, which has become an extremely important way for all the systems on a car to communicate with each other. And, that helps enable programming for stuff like ESP and traction control without having to have big expensive control computers. It takes the information from all the different computers and using software allows them to come up with new systems. So pretty neat stuff. And there were a few other innovations in this car that were pretty incredible. So, you know, again, riding down the road in this car, I feel like I should have little flags on either fender. I'm sitting tall. I defy anybody to get in one of these cars and not feel like, they are the chairman of the board or, the guy heading to, again, negotiate a peace treaty. Or, the guy heading with 4 of his large friends to go, take out another crime syndicate. It's just that kind of car. I mean, the greatest, most interesting people drove around in 140 cars. Unfortunately, one of them was Princess Diana. In fact, her rather unpleasant, life-ending collision happened in a big black 140 car, which caused some controversy for Mercedes. They didn't like being associated with that. In fairness, the thing did go at over 120 miles an hour into a concrete bridge support. I mean, if you're in, pretty much any car, you're going to be vaporized. And the guy in the passenger seat did live. So, despite that impact, he made it. And then Mercedes, they came out and said, man, if the car wasn't armored, they would have, fared better. She wasn't wearing her seatbelt, They felt very defensive about the whole thing. They just don't like people dying in what is probably the safest car in the world, maybe even today. I can't imagine many cars safer than this 140 today. Here, that flashing light was the ESP kicking on. It didn't like that sharp turn. Oh, God, listen to that V8 and the pull from that engine. Confidence, poise. This car has everything except a sense of humor. So there it is. This is, again, 97 Mercedes-Benz S500, triple black. This is a one-owner car that's been very, very well kept. All the stuff is working on it, which, is not always the case with these things. Some of them pass through 2, 3, 4 owners and just gotten beat to hell. What do we got? A brake wear light. That's wonderful. Oh, there it is again. Now we'll have a look at that. So they go through the shop, but they don't always get what they need anyway. We'll probably slap some brakes on it for you. There it is. Incredible machine, probably the pinnacle of Mercedes-Benz engineering. Certainly, the Mercedes-Benz engineers showing off. And 10 plus years and $1 billion to build this thing. And you get what you pay for. Look at that. There he is down there. Rooster crossing the road. Don't do that in front of a big black S-Class, buddy. Anyway, you have an interest, give us a call, 239-298-8000 on the web at aenaples.com. Thanks so much for having a look. We appreciate it. We'll see you with the next one. Take care.